Hi everybody, and welcome to Kids Talk. Today, we're going to be seeing some tactics. Tactics are special sets of moves that help you gain a positional advantage or a material advantage in chess games. Material advantage means you capture more pieces than your opponent does, and positional advantage means that you're positionally better than your opponent. So without further ado, let's get started. You're not going to get all these tactics in one go, so I recommend that you focus on one tactic each day. There are timestamps in the description box to help you with your learning. Okay, so our first tactic is the fork. In this tactic, this knight jumps to f2 and now forks the king and queen. It's a check to the king. And after the king moves, white can snap the queen. Let's move to the next tactic. On number 2, we have the pin. There are 3 types of pins: an absolute pin, a relative pin, and a situational pin. We're going to go through each of them. Let's start with the absolute pin. When a piece is pinned to the king, then it's called an absolute pin. In this case, let's see an example. The rook moves to a8 and pins this knight. This knight is absolutely pinned because it has no legal moves. Let's focus on the relative pin now. A relative pin is when a piece is pinned to not the king, but a piece of lesser value. Let's take an example. In this case, this rook comes to a8 and pins this knight, this time to the queen. So although this knight can legally move, it would be a terrible move since black would lose his queen. Now let's see a situational pin. In this case, the rook comes to f8, pinning this knight. Although there are no pieces behind the knight, if this knight moves, then rook to f1 is going to be a background checkmate. If you don't know what a background checkmate is, then I made a separate video on it. You can check it out by clicking on the I button above this video, right here. Okay, so now let's come on the next tactic. On number 3, we have the skewer, which is like an opposite of the pin. In this position, the rook comes to a8 and checks the black king. As soon as the black king moves, white snaps up this knight. As you can see, you can think of a skewer as an opposite of the pin, because if you go back like this, then in the pin, the less valuable piece was in the front, but in the skewer, the more valuable piece is in the front. Let's cover the next one now. Number 4 on our list is the discovered attack. The discovered attack has 2 forms, the discovered check and the double check. We're going to go over each of them. First, let's look at the discovered check. In this position, this bishop really wants to check the black king, but there's a white piece in the way. That's a pawn. If this would be a black pawn, then we would have a pin. But since this is a white piece, we can move it. So the pawn advances, and now this pawn is attacking the queen. But black has a problem. The bishop is now checking the king. So after the king moves, this pawn can snap up the queen. And black already lost the queen. So this covered check is very important. Let's move on to the next one. Now let's look at double check. A double check is more dangerous because in a double check, the king has to move. So first, white captures this pawn as a check. Then black comes back. And now there's a double check with the fork. This knight is also forking the king and queen, and there's a check from the queen. So now this king has to move, this knight snaps up the queen. So double check is a good tactic to know. On number 5 on our list is a tactic called Windmill. It's very rare, and this tactic is where 2 pieces go in a rampage covering different enemy pieces, as you're gonna see. Now first of all, white sacrifices his queen like this. And then he captures on b2 with a check. Now, after this, black comes here, and then there's another check. Black comes back, another check. He comes back. Now another check. Black has to come back. And now another check. And as you can see, another check. Eventually, white now has a huge material advantage. So this tactic is worth trying out. Let's go on the next tactic. The next tactic in our list is a tactic called overloading. In this tactic, white is going to make use of one piece that is assigned multiple tasks. This bishop on f1 is assigned to protect 2 threats. Number 1, this pawn, and number 2, this checkmate threat. So white takes advantage of this and captures on g2. Now, since this bishop cannot take this bishop since of the checkmate threat, black is going to lose a lot of material. Let's move on to the next one. Number 7 on our list is a tactic called Deflection. And in this tactic, we move an enemy piece away from a particular square. Here, this white rook really wants to capture the black rook, but this black rook is defended by the king. So how can we use the deflection tactic and move this black king away from this c1 square? Yes, the answer is bishop to a2, and it's a check. And since this bishop is defended by the queen, the king has to move, and now rook takes on c1 is a brilliant checkmate. Let's move on to the next one. Number 8 on our list is the tactic called Decoy. Decoy is the opposite of deflection. Deflection is to move an enemy piece away from a square, and decoy is to move a piece to a square. Such a square is going to be generally called a poison square. In this position, white is doomed. One more move and he's gone. But now it's white's move. But white is not going to take the queen. Well, if black would have been on c1, then this move, rook to f1, would have been checkmate. But how do we move this king to the poison c1 square? Yep, it's queen to c1. After this king takes, rook to f1 is a brilliant checkmate. Let's move on to the next tactic. Number 9 in our list is a tactic called Undermining. Undermining means removing the defender. Here, queen to a2 would have been checkmate if this knight would be removed. So first, white removes this knight. Now, black is the only move, king to a1. Now, there's a brilliant checkmate. Let's move on to the next tactic. For 10, we have Underpromotion, which really isn't a tactic. But before you know Underpromotion, if you don't know what promotion is, then you need to check out my special pawn rules video, which can be seen by tapping this I button that you can see here. Okay, so Underpromotion means promoting a pawn to something lesser than a queen, like a knight, bishop, or rook. Here, let's see how Underpromotion could be a tactic. Here, as you know, this pawn has reached the 8th rank, and now it's going to turn into something. instead of turning into a queen, this one turns into a rook, which is here. And now, here you see a fork. As soon as the king steps away, this queen gets captured. So whenever one of your pawns is approaching promotion, try to think if you can promote it to lesser than a queen and get an advantage. On number 11, we have an exchange sacrifice, which means you go down on exchange. Here, this rook captures this knight, and this rook recaptures this rook. And now, just move later, white applied the tactic of a fork and came out on top of material. Let's go on the next tactic. On number 2 on our list is a clearance sacrifice, which clears space. In this case, if this rook wasn't on the chessboard, then queen takes on a2 would be a checkmate. But this rook is in the way, so white plays this move, rook to f4, sacrificing the rook. And as soon as the rook is sacrificed, boom. And it's a checkmate. Let's see the next tactic. Number 13 on our list is that of exposing hanging pieces. Hanging pieces are undefended pieces and that can be captured for free. In this case, the knight on d4 is almost hanging if the evil knight can be removed from protecting the c2 square. So first, white captures this knight. Now, it doesn't matter wherever this knight goes, it's captured, and that too for free. Let's go on the next tactic. On number 14, we have the Smothered Mate tactic. Smothered Mate is when the king cannot move and is trapped by its own pieces, and a knight delivers checkmate. In this, first, this knight captures on c2 with a check. The knight comes back. Then now, knight to a3, double check. Now, if the king comes to c1, then queen to c2 is a checkmate. But if the king goes to the corner, then we have the Smothered Mate tactic. Now we have this queen sacrifice of queen to b1. Black's only move is to capture with the rook. And now, white's gonna go to c2, and now it's a Smothered Mate, because black cannot move because he's trapped by his own pieces. Let's go to the next one. On number 15, we have a tactic called Zugzwang, which is a move compulsion that means all your moves are bad. And a Zugzwang at some times can cause the player to worsen his position, or at times even lose the game. So let's see how this works. This rook plays the waiting move, and now black has the only move, king to a1. And now as soon as white takes this bishop, then now it's a checkmate. Let's move to the next one. Our next tactic is a tactic called Zwischenzug, which means an in-between move. In this position, white captures this pawn, and now black takes this rook. But now, instead of recapturing back, white captures this pawn with the fork. And now, after this, white gets a queen, and now black comes back, and then he recaptures, leaving white with material advantage. Let's move on. Now for our final tactic. This tactic is called X-ray attack. Here, this bishop is attacking this bishop, but it's indirectly attacking this rook. So using the X-ray tactic, white cannot take this rook. And if black recaptures, then white can capture. And now, white is up in material. The timestamps are provided in the description, so you need to check this out one by one. Okay, So if you like this video, then like, share, subscribe, and as they always say, smash that notification bell so you know when our videos come. Here is the subscribe button, so subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.